Council published its first South African national gender-based violence study, revealing that 1 in 3 South African women aged 18 and older has experienced physical violence in her lifetime. This troubling figure, however, only tells part of the story, because the question is, what about the survivors? Where do they go, and what kind of support do they receive? Well, to shed some light on that vital question, we're now joined by Celeste Louw, who's the General Manager of Operations at the Tears Foundation. And that's a non-profit organization that supports survivors of gender-based violence, sexual assault, domestic violence, as well as child abuse. Celeste, thank you so much indeed for joining us, and welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me.
This figure that the report by the Human Science Research Council, is that consistent with what you see in terms of the numbers coming through Tears Foundation?
I think it definitely is true. I think 1 in 3 is an averaged out number, but I think also that number is not including the fact that most of those people don't report. So the majority of people don't report. So 1 in 3 is taken from other studies. It's not taken from what's being reported. It's not, those are not the figures from policing, say, or from the judiciary.
We often talk about gender-based violence, and sadly, some of the reports that we read are often after the fact that maybe somebody has passed away. But there are many more who survive, who manage perhaps to get out of difficult situations, difficult relationships. Tell us a little bit about what happens when they come to you. What's the first thing that you see and attend to?
Right, so we run a helpline, a 24/7 helpline, and we get calls from all over the country. And what we do is, our first port of call is to assess for need. So for us, survivors need to make their own decisions. So we will educate people on what their choices are, but we don't tell people what to do. So that's a very important thing for me. As a survivor myself, I understand that you have to be empowered to make your own decisions. So we explain to them what choices they have. If they need help, we can organize counseling services. In emergency situations, we facilitate that they get emergency care. And then our main focus is on taking people from crisis to healing. So we do follow-up calls. We set up multidisciplinary teams to help with the various aspects of a case, because the thing is, it's not just about one thing, right? It's not generally just counseling or just a criminal case. There's generally financial issues. Maybe there's sheltering needed. Maybe there's social workers. There's custody issues. There's all sorts of issues that need to be handled in a long-term GBV case. So we facilitate that and make sure that people get the best help that they can get. And to do that, we collaborate with a lot of organizations all across the country so that people can get assistance where they are. And if there isn't anything, we do online assistance.
Do you find that by the time they pick up the phone, a lot of abuse has taken place over a long period of time?
That is often the case. And often it's the case that they feel like they're not getting the assistance that they need from government services, from policing, or from the NPA, social workers. They need assistance to understand what is going on and why things are taking long. So, for instance, in rape cases, often people don't understand how long it takes to get DNA back.
So the story goes that most GBV perpetrators are known to their survivors. Is that something that still holds true to today?
I think it does. It's very hard to tell. So from what we're seeing is a very massive increase in the violence, not in the sense of more people, but an increase in the level of violence in the crime. So that we're seeing really violent situations. It's really hard to tell just by a thumbsuck Are we seeing a change in dynamics, which is one of the reasons why we're doing research now to see what does it actually look like on the ground and where are the shortfalls. But we're definitely seeing more violent outbursts, and when they are violent, the level of violence is much higher.
How do you help with the psychological aspect of abuse? Because it's not just about the perpetrator. There's a psychology
No.
for the person that's being abused as well, isn't there?
Yes. So speaking as a survivor, I can tell you it's a very long road to healing.
Mm.
And that road, you need to have a support network. So it's not necessarily just a psychiatrist or a psychologist. You need to build a support team. You need a specific type of counseling. You need to be able to manage symptoms that actually have no cure. And you have to be able to walk to healing where there is an answer to healing a memory. Because a lot of times, if there's been long-term abuse, people actually don't remember everything that happened to them. They have physical reactions to their trauma that are not linked to a specific memory. So all of those things need help, and you fall out. So a lot of people think, oh, well, you were abused and you left, or you were raped and it's over now and you should be okay. Well, it isn't as simple as that.
Mm.
There's a long journey to healing, and I don't think that people are supported as well as they could be in long journeys, and especially given that infrastructure is falling apart. And institutions, NGOs, and those kind of places that help sheltering, all of those kind of things are losing their funding, they're closing down, and the will to keep support services for survivors running needs to really be addressed. The implementation of our laws, those things need to be addressed, because survivors are not getting the help that they need. And there's a perception that a survivor, you're going to go to a police station and you're going to be believed, when actually, because of the way that the system is set up, often survivors are in a position where they have to prove that something happened to them. So they're seen as lying until they can prove the truth. And perpetrators are seen as innocent until found guilty. So we need to address all of those issues.
As a survivor, I am wondering if you can look back now and say, had I known this, or had this intervention taken place, or had this been available, I might have got out sooner, or maybe even prevented. What are those things, do you think, that we can put into place to prevent and perhaps save people sooner?
Oh, definitely. I think that there are a lot of things. So the first thing is, I don't think that people are educated on the law and how to access their rights. I definitely wasn't. I didn't know anything about that when I went into that. I don't think that we educate correctly. And I don't think that we have enough of a focus on healing. And we need to do that. I also think that if we're going to go the justice route, then justice needs to be justice, right? So there's a lot of things that we can do. And one of the ways actually two of the ways that we as Tears Foundation are addressing that is the one, we have a Speak Up program, which is a video-based program, educational program that's data-free, that can be accessed through our USSD number. And that is *134 *7355#. And there you can view these videos that talk to young people about things like consent, pregnancy, STIs, all sorts of things. And the sad thing is, the one that really gets looked at a lot is depression. So parents can go look at that, children can go look at that. Courageous conversation and teaching people how to navigate life is really important. And then our other prong on that is to do training sectorally with GBV first responders in South Africa, and actually educate them how to bridge the gap between academic learning and applying that learning on the ground, in the field, and helping survivors in a way that actually creates real change. Because that is the problem that we're having. The interventions that we have had and we've been doing aren't working.
I mean, it's exceptionally difficult to help and reach adult women. It must be twice as hard for children, because they don't often have easy access to the outside world to cry for help.
Yes, I think the thing is also if we don't encourage children to speak up, right? If we're not having courageous conversation, if we're not talking about these things, if we're keeping them taboo, and I think it's got better, but I think it needs to get a lot better than that even. Because if we're not teaching people that it's okay to speak out about this and there's no shame, and if we're not educating, then those children don't reach out. And there's many reasons why children don't reach out. For instance, we teach children to obey authority, and then we tell them, tell me about it. So, so it's all about how you speak to your children and what kind of relationships you have inside families. I also think people don't want to believe that someone that is close to them would hurt their children.
Did your neighbors know what was going on in your house?
No, nobody knew. My own extended family didn't even know. So it was very difficult because it was kept under wraps really, really well. And funny enough, when I did speak up as an adult, a lot of people said we knew there was something going on, but we couldn't quite figure out what it was. So it also depends on what kind of perpetrator you have, right? So my perpetrator kept us isolated. So there was no real way of talking out. And I went to a Catholic convent. So I wasn't really comfortable until in my matric year when I actually disclosed. So I think it's really difficult for children if there's no safe spaces and no places where they know there's not going to be a repercussion to talk out, then often children won't speak out.
How do we fix that? I mean, do we have more public campaigns that they have access to? Even children's programs, sometimes at the end of the shows, that this message gets rolled out to them?
Yes, I think we have to have a lot more age-appropriate conversation. But I also think that we need to have places where parents are taught how to handle these things. You know, there's no real parental education around how to keep your child safe, how to spot the signs, how to manage things. And as survivors, that's very difficult. So I will tell you that as a survivor, as a mother, mothering can be very difficult because your own experience of parents is different. So you go in going, I'm not going to let that happen to my child, but you don't actually know what you're looking for. So I think it's very important that we educate across the board, adults and children. But mostly it's very sad that in South Africa we have such great gender-based violence laws and very few people know them, understand them, or know how to implement them.
What's the biggest thing you think that needs to be fixed?
I think there's two areas, right? So the one area is after the fact. So if you want people to report, we have to have our after the fact systems in place. We need proper, quick DNA. People need to know where to go. People need to be handled properly at police stations. People need to be handled properly by the judiciary. And we have to have swifter justice because we're talking about cases that can take up to 8 years.
Wow.
That's 8 years that a survivor is sitting there waiting for their life is on hold, waiting for the trial to end. Also, we need to address this thing of a survivor needs to perform their pain in order to testify. So a lot of the time, the courts don't want you to get healing or get therapy until you've testified, and it could take 3 to 5 years just to get to testifying while your life is falling apart and you are left so that you perform your pain. I think that is a big problem. I think also that sentencing needs to be addressed, parole and offending, those things need to be addressed. That's one side. The other side is we need to start in homes at grassroots level, teaching people morality and respect for life and what is okay and what isn't okay and how to negotiate life. So it's educational as well as fixing all our systems.
Celeste, I wish we could talk for longer, but unfortunately we've run out of time. But thank you so much indeed for telling your story, the story of Tears Foundation and women and children in general that sadly are facing the brunt of this abuse. Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. And if anybody needs help, they can simply pick up the phone and dial 08000 83277.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's Celeste Louw, General Manager of Operations at the Tears Foundation, a non-profit organization that's supporting survivors of gender-based violence, sexual assault, domestic violence, and child abuse. And that's our GBV story for today. Every Tuesday we focus on this issue, particularly during Women's Month. It's time to find out from Brother Benjamin what's coming up on the Move after the 9 o'clock news. Good morning.
Hey, Peter. Good.
Good morning.
Good morning. Beautiful Sunday.